Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your motion picture podcast hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Today we will jump from the small to the big screen by doing a bit of a movie marathon, which will culminate in our review of the ostensible film finale to the Gridman reboot, Gridman Universe. Of course, we will present you with our picks for best anime of the season. Before all of that, there is still a bit of leftover TV stuff to get out of the way in The Quick and the Dead. So grab your popcorn and movie tickets, please turn off your phones, and don't you dare sing along to the song lyrics in the theater because we will smite your ass! And definitely don't pause the pod, we'll be right back. So yeah, Quick and the Dead. Got one technical quick review here for myself that John didn't watch. I don't know how quick this will turn out to be because I wrote down actually more than I intended to, which is the 7th season of My Hero Academia. I did a full review for season 6, technically. I tried to keep this one a bit shorter, maybe because this is basically a big old battle royale for most of its runtime. So yeah, what's happening with the students of A1? Yeah, this is basically gearing, or the beginning of this is gearing up for the finale. I think season 6 already put every little piece into play for that, and now we're getting there. Like, we get like 4 memories recap episodes at the beginning. They are not really necessary since My Hero Academia never takes super long breaks between seasons, and most of what happened was still in my head at that point. And I guess if one watched all seasons, you don't need to watch this. But they're part of the season; they count, I guess. So whatever. And after that, we get like the big opener where Star and Stripe, America's strongest hero and All Might's pupil, rides in on her fleet of stealth bombers. As you would do as an American hero.
That's a lot already.
Yeah, she uses those as a support and to move around in the air because she can't fly, but she can use them as basically footholds. And she clashes with Shigaraki because All for One wants to steal her power, which is her ability to apply new rules to everything she touches. I briefly touched upon all of this in the sneak peek for season 7, or when I talked about that in our sneak peek. But yeah, that battle is over. That battle ends by Shigaraki actually winning and getting her power and everything. She actually lets Shigaraki steal her quirk and decay her body, but is like using that open opportunity to impose a new final order on his quirk, which is to oppose all other quirks. So as soon as Shigaraki has fully absorbed New Order into his body, it starts to destroy every single other quirk Shigaraki inherited from All for One as his new host body. So that was a bold move of hers, and she pays for that with her life. But, you know, it buys the heroes some time to come up with some plans before Shigaraki has reached full power and everything. So it was worth for that. And yeah, All for One keeps calling Shigaraki the other me, which emphasizes that he's only seeing him as a tool and an extension of his own will, which was, one could guess, the way All for One had behaved from the get-go. Like, he's the master manipulator, he's just using everyone to further his own goal and whatever. So Shigaraki is that for him. He wants just to be immortal, I guess, and needs a new body for that to keep on doing what he does. And Shigaraki is the chosen one. He has groomed him from being a kid for being that, and manipulated his life to become shittier and shittier so that he would be susceptible to All for One's manipulations. And it seems this is maybe paying off for now, or right now, because it seems like Shigaraki is playing into everything that All for One set up. It seems like this, but there are some wrinkles to that during the course of the season. We see Shigaraki actually maybe trying to break free from that. If it will be successful, we will see, but that's definitely something that's running through the season. So one of the big things, and one of the big surprises, and I'm gonna say, again, just with all my reviews for this, because it's a continued season, full spoiler, right? This is coming, everything that's happening in the later parts of the season. I'm going to spoil the shit out of that. But there are some interesting things that are happening in this season besides the big we're going to have our final battle thing. It was teased before that since the villains have information they shouldn't have, there must be a traitor in UA. Since you've at least watched until season 5, John, any guesses who that traitor is? It's an unlikely candidate, let's say that much.
A likely?
An unlikely.
Unlikely. Well, I mean, I was sort of suspicious of Hawks for a second there. But you mean of like the students?
Yes, of the students. I can say that much before I give it away.
God, there were so many students. I'm having trouble remembering all of them.
It's from a person from A1. It's not one of the B team students.
You know how little that narrows it down in my own brain? I don't know.
Okay, so...
And I'm sure after you tell me, I'll be like, oh, of course.
It's Belly Laser Guy, Yuga Aoyama.
Him.
He's the mole. He always seemed to be a good kid. Like, I would not have expected him. He's goofy. He's a bit weird, but
Yeah, now that you say it, I probably wouldn't have picked him out of all of them, but...
Yes, he just seems harmless. He just seems a bit weird, but harmless, and we know why he's so weird. There's a moment between him and Deku in the 5th or 6th seasons where they go a bit into that, and we see like there's a connection, at least a one-sided one, and there's a reason why Aoyama wants to become a hero, and Deku is kind of like the personification of what he's striving to be and everything. So there's this moment where Deku is like questioning himself, and Aoyama is one of the people who gives him like a new drive and everything. So that was nice, and that further removed him from my suspicions. But it turns out Aoyama was also born quirkless, just like Deku. And because his parents were afraid that he would be ostracized by society because of it, because the way hero society works in this show, right? If you don't have a quirk, you're nothing, kind of. This is what Deku experienced anyway. They went to All for One and asked him to give Aoyama a quirk. Bad idea.
Yeah, no kidding. Talk about making a deal with the devil.
Yeah, which explains why Aoyama was so attached to Deku in previous seasons. Like, he wants Deku to succeed and wants to support him, probably because he feels guilty of the way he received his quirk and wants to turn his fate around by following someone's example who, just like him, was dealt a bad hand at birth. And of course, this further fans the flame of the discussion about hero idolization and the damage that is done by valuing quirks and conformity too highly in this society. You can easily make some connections to our real life and certain groups of people being ostracized for not conforming to the widely accepted models and of society and character traits chosen by society as the norm. I don't know if Horikoshi intended to tackle this discussion with this and some other plot points, or if it just evolved naturally from his story beats, but neither of the two would surprise me actually at this point. So that was pretty cool. Also, the last season especially has shown that Horikoshi is really adept at setting up good long-term payoffs very early in the story. This is another example of that. It also fits very well with one of the show's other main themes, parental figures, and the many different ways how they can support and fuck up their kids. Like, Aoyama's parents thought they were doing the best for their son by making him conform to societal norms. But in the long run, that severely backfired. Now All for One threatens to kill Aoyama's parents if Aoyama doesn't do his bidding. And, he had to lie to the group of people he wanted to be part of the most, his classmates. So, ironically, by making him more like everyone else, his parents doomed him to isolation and despair because of it. One thing they wanted to protect him from, they brought upon him themselves. This is a really good twist and payoff. Sadly, it wasn't handled as well by the adaptation as it could have been. The reveal of Aoyama being All for One's mole should have definitely been a what the fuck end of the episode cliffhanger at the end of episode 2 or 3 of the season. Instead, they put it at the halfway point of episode 3, which in my opinion lessens the reveal's impact quite a bit. Like, that would have been a real what the fuck, good ending for that episode. It was like, what, that guy? I never would have believed it. So, but also, again, in hindsight, it kind of makes sense, and how they fill in the blanks and everything, and the way he was behaving before, it all fits into his character. So it's great. And of course, since he is a good kid, technically, you feel really, really sad for him. It's heartbreaking seeing Aoyama calling himself a villain in this moment, because, you know, he is a good guy and just wants to be with his friends. That's all he ever wanted. Mm. So yeah, and of course, our main boy, because he's the best boy, Deku recognizes this and reaches out to Aoyama to tell him that doing one criminal act doesn't make you a villain for life, and that he can still be a hero. Using Aoyama as an informant would indeed give them an advantage over All for One for the first time. Because so far, All for One has been always feeling a step ahead. But this turning Aoyama would be something he probably didn't see coming. So that's what they want to do. But the question is, does Aoyama need to do this to deserve to be forgiven? In my opinion. On the surface, this is spun like an uplifting turn of events and makes you think that Horikoshi believes in reformation, but only if quid pro quo is involved. I don't know how I feel about that, actually. We'll see what comes of that plot point, because, like, beyond this point, they haven't really done anything with that, instead of using Aoyama for the setup and everything. But everyone just holding judgment over him, pointing at him in a room where he and his parents are chained to chairs, not looking at the wider context or big picture. I don't know. That felt icky to me. But again, also pretty close to real life, probably. So, So Aizawa, Eraserhead, comes up with a plan for Aoyama and the others. They will try to separate all the important villains from each other and have that big battle, but all in different parts of the town/country. And that was really the point where it felt like, okay, the finale is approaching. We have the stage. This is where we're going with this. This is what we're going to do with this. This is going to be a fun, big old battle royale with different parties fighting against each other, not all at the same space, but, you know, in different parts with different character constellation and everything. On the bad guy's side of things, there's also some stuff happening. Spinner is willingly instrumentalized by All for One as a spokesperson for the heteromorph writers, you know, the heroes who look like animals or, I don't know, mutants or whatever. And the rioters see him as the savior from society's bigotry, which I guess also plays a bit into the Aoyama quirkless stuff and everything. So this is one of the big underlying themes in this season that Horikoshi seems to have been really putting a focus on this point. And yeah, recap episodes aside, once the season actually starts, it sure aren't wasting any time. Sometimes to its own detriment, just like the second half of season 2. Like, the final battle royale between heroes and villains already begins in the 5th episode of this. And then we have different split-ups, like with the help of Shinzo's and Monoma's, of all people, you know, the arrogant guy who was always like yelling at the students from A1, I'm the best, you suck ass. But he can copy abilities. And so he copies Eraserhead's abilities, among other things. And the heroes manage to lure All for One into a trap by making him believe Aoyama is delivering Deku to him. Then splitting up all the villains and heroes and sending them to separate locations, like I said, with the teleportation technique Monoma stole from Kurogiri. And yeah, it's cool. At first I was worried we'd have the big free-for-all in a goddamn parking lot, because that's where this starts. This is where the meeting happens between All for One and, you know, Aoyama, and who's bringing Deku along. But it was just a setup stage, and then everyone gets sent to places who are varied enough. Like, there's a forest, and then there's this big hovering, closed off by energy barriers, part of the school where they try to trap Shigaraki and then have a bunch of them fight it. And Deku was supposed to be there as well. The problem is Toga, our favorite yandere, has other plans and pulls Deku into her location warp. So he and Ochako have to team up first. And he can't be in the fight against Shigaraki, which is a big problem because he's the powerhouse and Shigaraki is the strongest villain. So the others have to make duo while they wait for Deku to get back to them. And this is, you know, where they introduce like this ticking clock thing. It's like, holy shit, Shigaraki is only getting stronger and we're just trying to fight windmills here, and it's ridiculous. But yeah, that also, of course, means that we get all the encounters that have been set up for a while. Endeavor versus All For One, Shoto versus Dabi/Toya, Ochako versus Toga, and Bakugo and Deko eventually, and a bunch of other strong heroes in a handicap match versus Shigaraki. At least, like I said, that was the plan, but we have Toga doing her own thing, at least for a bit there. And yeah, Shigaraki, completely over the edge at this point, is going for some real body horror shit with all of them hands, which is especially wild since Horikoshi has stated in the past that he is bad at drawing hands, so he pushes himself to draw them more often so he gets better at it. So of course, Shigaraki now just attacks with a cluster of 5 million hands, all strung together. He looks like Tetsuo from Akira, like in terms of body horror, just at some point becomes this weird mass of just hands and fingers, and it looks gross, and it's just hand cancer. It's ridiculous.
He was just a fan of those giant hand enemies in Elden Ring.
Maybe. Yeah, they could. Yeah, probably drew some of those. But yeah, we have that. We also learned that Dabi/Toya, who am I supposed to name him at this point? I guess Dabi, since he's still being a villain, was supposed to be cultivated into a fallback in case Shigaraki didn't pan out, but he was too maniacal to control, even for All For One, which, oof, okay. Job well done, Endeavor, the son that you did not raise there. It's interesting to learn that. And that's one of the first big battles, really, we get. We have Shoto against Toya, against his brother. It's not really a highlight on a choreography or animation level at this point, because it's basically them just shouting at each other more than anything else. So the actual fight kind of sucks. But it's alright in terms of storytelling and a decent preemptive wrap-up, though we get the second stage to that, to this particular story. At this point, I was like, it feels like this should have been a 2-on-1 with both Shoto and Endeavor doing their part to bring Toya back. And I understand that Shoto is one of our main heroes and is the thematic mirror piece to Toya, but they barely had really any on-screen interaction until now. So it feels more thematically scripted than an actual natural conclusion from a character arc standpoint.
That kind of stinks. It would have made sense to do that.
Exactly. And I was thinking that because it's like, wait, you're just going to have them square up? You know, at least Endeavor should be part of it. In my opinion, that was the mission statement. And after the last season, when it was revealed that Toya is Dabi, it's like, okay, should be getting the whole family in there, right? We're going to have the family, like a fight or family therapy mask as a fight, and then everyone against, trying to get Toya back and everything. And Horikoshi seems to be aware of that at that point already, because Shoto literally says when he delivers the final blow, our paths will cross even if it's forced, which is way to comment on your own writing, Horikoshi.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if that is him acknowledging this shortcoming of storytelling, or if it's accidental. But either way, I feel like, does that make it better or worse? But yeah, so it eventually, thankfully, Endeavor also joins the fight, and we get a good aftermath after that with Endeavor and Hawks facing All For One, who, of course, uses Toya to trigger Endeavor and almost takes him out. But it makes Endeavor acknowledge once again that he's pretty much solely responsible for abandoning his son in the worst way possible. Even if All For One did some of his usual manipulation to make things worse, the responsibility for it getting this far still rests on Endeavor's shoulders alone. So I'm always happy when the show acknowledges that, because in the beginning it was like, is he actually going to take responsibility? Is he actually going to be like, well, I'm just... man will do what men do. No, he's just... Horikoshi knows that he was the shittiest dad, and he's gonna make him suffer for that again and again and again until he finds a way to kind of redeem himself for what he did to his son. So I always appreciated that. We have Jiro and Tsukuyomi appearing in the fight against All For One, but they're in over their heads, and let me tell you, just in general, the past 2 seasons have proven that Horikoshi is not afraid of permanently damaging his heroes. None of them. Like, he's not afraid of like he rips one of Jiro's ears off. Technically, like she's I forgot what her hero name was. She's the girl with the sound powers and everything, and she has like these plugs hanging from her ears, kind of, or her ears looks like plugs, and one of them just gets torn off in the fight. It's like, whoa, okay. So we have Mirko, the bunny hero that was introduced earlier. She already lost like a leg in season 6, and now she's losing an arm and I think the other leg. It's crazy. Like it gets really bloody in parts that I did not see coming. And yeah, that fight is in itself cool. I feel like the first half of this season, animation-wise, is kind of not the best My Hero Academia has been, but they set up enough interesting story beats and character moments to compensate for that, and the animation picks up in the second half. So that's good. Maybe in the first half, the team from Bones was still engaged with one of the My Hero Academia movies or something like that. So that would make sense because, like I said, it picks up in the second half, and then the battles get really fun, look really good. So that's nice. It's better than if it was the other way around. So, but yeah, we get this. Even though it's not super well animated at this point, the fight against All for One is fun. We have Endeavor finally deciding to not fight for becoming the new ideal hero, but for the next generation. And that puts a neat bow on his character arc, in my opinion, already. Like, he could never have truly replaced All Might or even Deku, because he was too chained to a life of misguided ambition, inferiority complexes, and self-hatred. And the choices that resulted from that, with a little help from All for One, of course, led to him losing his family and a lot of people losing their lives. And I think at this point he realizes and knows that he can't overcome this mental burden in his own lifetime. And the only way to make up for his past sins is by securing a future for the next generation that might be able to do better. And this is definitely one of the best character arcs in the show, in my opinion, which I did not see coming. I think none of us were fans of Endeavor in the beginning. And I'm still not a fan, but I think like his arc and his struggle through the entirety of this show is probably some of the best realized stuff writing-wise that Horikoshi has to offer in his story. Like, to make a already unsympathetic character even more unsympathetic once you learn his character background, and then actually being able to turn some of that around, somewhat sympathizing with the decisions he makes down the road and redeeming him in some aspects in a believable way, and not gifting that to him, right? It's not like he's just, his family came to him and says like out of nowhere, hey, you're forgiven, everything is fine, which we've seen a bunch of other shows and everything, be the bigger man and whatever. No, he has to fight for that, he has to suffer for that, and he will, at the end of the show, he will not be completely there, because he has lost so much, and he's responsible for all of that, but he has made the right decision of being like, no, it's not my place to be this idol anymore, because I can't be that, because I have so much baggage, and that baggage has already damned so many people in my life, so I'm gonna do everything to make things better, and lift up the new next generation, lift up Shoto, lift up Deku, lift up whoever is there from the current students, and make them actually succeed and become the new light for the society, instead of me being that. And that's great. That's good. That's good writing, in my opinion, and I like that. And what I also liked was Bakugo calling Shigaraki a nutsack-faced handyman. It's absolutely what I wanted from that confrontation.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, yeah. And what's also pretty good is Yuki Hayashi in this season with his score. It's definitely taking that soundtrack to another level, like epic endgame feel. Gotta say, just some moments that some cues and some melodies we didn't have in the previous season. Some are brought back, but in a more like epic endgame, epic end fight kind of mix. So it's really cool. We have the big threes. Senpai characters coming back, like Lemillion and the other two. And Lemillion is the first one to make a dent in Shigaraki's psychological armor by bringing up that he probably didn't have any friends, or he wouldn't be hellbent on destroying everything, because you have a friend, you just don't do that, or you shouldn't be doing that, because, there are people who have things that matter to them that might be not the same thing that matters to you and everything. So And then the little remaining splinter of the original Shigaraki / Shimura consciousness picks this up and protests loudly, like a child, like throwing a tantrum by bringing up two of his childhood friends, which catches like both Tomura's and All for One's overriding consciousness off guard. It's like, what the hell? Where did that come from? Although they regain control quickly. But yeah, this is like, okay, he's still in there, like the original person that was before they were completely manipulated by All for One. And this is what Deku wanted. This was his mission statement in the previous season. Like, as long as I see a chance of getting him back, I will not kill him. I will try to pull him out of that misery and out of All for One's control. So we see, this is the moment where we see, okay, he's still in there. Tomura is still there. And the heroes need to take every small victory they can get, because otherwise they are completely outmatched by Shigaraki. He's probably on the level of Golden Age All Might right now. So even when the heroes get some big hits in, he just shrugs them off, kinda. And it looks at one point like he kills off Bakugo. That was an effective cliffhanger. Like, he's a big old fucking hole in his chest. And it's ridiculous, and you're like, holy fucking shit, did I kill one of the main characters? And of course, there's still some, it's very dire, but also Edgeshot just gets in there and tries to repair his heart by turning into a string and whatever, and Best Genius is also trying his best. So that's still happening while the fight is happening, and he's not fully dead yet, and I assume they're gonna revive him in the next season. I don't think that is going to stay this way. And we have some nice back and forth moments in general in this match. Like, there's some moments where you think, oh, they got an upper hand on Shigaraki, like with the moment where his original consciousness shines through. But then he goes and fucking blows a hole into Bakugo's chest. And then we find out Toya is still alive after all, after we thought Shoto just completely obliterated his ass. But no, he did not. And then All for One, after we think Endeavor completely burned him up, and he looks like a burnt up husk, he has a last second ace up his sleeve, and that is a capsule basically distilled from, with a fluid distilled from Ares Power, the girl from season 4 that our heroes rescued from, what's his name? Overload?
Oh, yeah.
That guy. That guy who then lost his hand.
I don't remember that, but I remember that story.
You know, the girl, she has the power to reverse things, to turn back time. She can heal wounds and stuff like that with that. But what All for One is using it for, he just completely reconstructs and rejuvenates his body. Which sucks, because, you know, one of the things that was like, oh, well, he's very dangerous and everything, but at least he's severely damaged, and if you get him out of his suit and just destroy that, he's fucked. Endeavor does that, and then was like, well, no, I still have this. That bitch ass had a mega elixir up his ass. And the downside is, while it rejuvenates him and restores his body, it will keep rewinding him until he ceases to exist. Like, basically, it will return him to, I don't know, sperm or an egg. That's the idea anyway. He's gonna just be, he's gonna get Benjamin buttoned, right? So he's gonna turn younger and younger and younger and younger until he ceases to exist. So he's very aware of that and intends to use the additional time to help Shigaraki escape the trap the heroes set up. And then, you know, because that's his new body, and eventually he will transfer his consciousness fully to him and everything. And hey, we finally see that smug-ass face of his. That has been teased for a while. I mean, his face was super burned, right? Destroyed by All Might and everything, and he was basically just a mouth. But now we see his original face, and that getting younger and younger, which is weird. And we have some we have this other side bit where Spinner is trying to get to Kurogiri and free him, so Kurogiri can teleport all the people to Shigaraki to support him and everything, and we have some of our other heroes trying to stop him, like Present Mike and Shoji, so Tentacle. And there's a nice character moment with Shoji where he's like trying to stop the rioters, and he's like, hey, we know society has done you dirty because you look different, and they've ostracized you because of that, they've treated you badly, they've done the same to me, but I decided to take the high road and become a hero instead. So why not please try to be more like me, right? Don't try to be super angry, and because this is not going to do anything, and you're going to hurt people who don't have anything to do with it, like the people who are in this hospital, where also Kurigiri resides and everything, and they want to get out. I feel like that is nice in terms of a sentiment, but those politics that this moment employs are a bit naive. if actual life has taught us anything, it's that. But, in a broad idealistic superhero story like this, I can tolerate it. The real problem is that, like a lot in the season, it feels somewhat rushed. Like the Ayama stuff, like this, some of the stuff later on. Which, considering how much the show was dragging its feet for a half of season 5, this is surprising. Like, I think uneven pacing is still My Hero Academia's biggest flaw, starting with season 4 onward, I'd say. Season 6 almost got back to form, but now season 7 is back to what the second half of season 5 was doing, aka moving way too quickly through what is, what it's really good at, the emotional character stuff. And Shoji's story deserved a full episode, in my opinion, because there's this nice thing where, he was fucked up by the villagers, but he saved the girl, and he's like, hey, I'm trying to remember just the moment where that girl looked at me and was super grateful and was clutching my, my weird hands and everything that look creepy to other people, and she was just holding them tight because she was so happy that he saved her. It's a really good moment. And he says that I'm trying to remember that every time someone treats me like a monster or something like that. So I would like to see a full episode of featuring that storyline. Like from him getting from the angry youngster, who was angry at just being treated like a monster, to clinging to that moment of him saving the girl and deciding, no, this is what I want to be. I want to be a person that gets looked at like that constantly. And the way I can do that is by becoming a hero. And that's why I'm joining the hero course of the school. So it was like, okay, really nice emotional beat in there. Should have been a full episode. And I don't know if it's longer in the manga. Might be that there's a full backstory there. I doubt it, but that would have been great. And it feels like a bit rushed in this season. So, but it's good. I'm still happy that's in there because it gives one. I always like when they give the many characters in this show, and especially the students from A1 or 1A. I don't even know what the proper description is here. But if they give them something to do and some interesting character beats, because a lot of them don't get that much. We have always had the focus on Shoto, on Bakugo, and on Deku, and it's nice for some of them to get a bit more there. And yeah, we have Darby returning to the Darby flying over to the All for One battle and mixing things up there. We have Hawks successfully dissing All for One, hitting him where it hurts, like giving him I don't even remember exactly what it says, but All for One doesn't really show it, but it definitely. Oh yeah, he tells him All for One is like, are you sure you want to send your B team against me? And Hawks is like, bitch. You couldn't beat All Might. Why would we send our best to beat you?
Ooh, okay, that's pretty good.
So it's fun. Yeah, and that really, you see that it stinks him because like he gets a super sinister look. He's still so angry about losing to All Might. So. And then then the fan surf starts, dude, because we're getting some real Smash Bros. Everyone is here, Avengers Endgame on your left moments. The one that got the biggest pop out of me was the return of Gentle and La Brava from Season 5, who get a real, Season 4, the second half of Season 4, who get a real spotlight scene, and man, was that satisfying. I love that little goofy heartfelt arc in Season 4 with the concert and everything, and there was like this nice breather in between the more serious stuff. And I was overjoyed to see them bursting onto the scene in a clutch situation as heroes. And it was really cool. And it gets even better after that, because I get exactly what I wanted. The whole Todoroki family working together to stop the Sunday failed on every conceivable level and bringing him back from the brink of hell into the world of the living. It's heartbreaking and beautiful, and I loved every second of it. It's just like them going against him, everyone using their ice powers to trying to restrain him. Shoto then coming in at a clutch moment with Ingenium, like that's where the animation is picking up, because if you know anything about Ida, once he unleashes his power and goes super fast, shit looks amazing. And it does so in this moment, because they're basically at the other side of the town or something like that. And they're like, Dabi is about to explode and take everything along with him in a 5-kilometer radius. And then, like, we can't get there. And Ida is like, hold my beer. And he puts Shoto on his shoulders and gives him, like, his visor so that he doesn't suffocate during the trip or whatever, that he can still breathe. And then he just goes full turbo speed, and they're just there in a blink of a moment, and it looks so fucking good. And then he just... and Shoto just runs the last couple of meters and then just unleashes a full-on super ice attack and manages to free while his entire family was already holding back Dabi, and they manage to freeze him and cool him down, and he doesn't die. And we have this nice moment of Endeavor breaking together over his son's body and is sobbing and is apologizing, and it's really good. It's really fucking good. Like, this is everything I wanted out of the storyline. This is good stuff, and I'm so happy that's what we got, because at the beginning of the season it didn't look like it, because we only had the square off between Shoto and Dabi. I was like, is that all we're gonna get? Nope. They really went there, and they really did good shit. We have a really nice spotlight episode with a fight between Toga and Ochako, with a great emotional climax there as well, which first of all surprised me, also that they got an entire episode, because I have made no secret about my opinion of My Hero Academia failing its female cast members constantly by not giving them the focus they deserve. But thankfully, this was one of the episodes that at least gave me a glimpse at what would have been possible if the ladies got a bit more screen time. Like, Ochako finally being able to reach out and make Toga realize and verbalize that she really what she really wanted, and that there's someone who will let her have that without her having to be a villain is nice. More build up and focus on that over the course of the series would have made it work much better, but it was still a good effort of doing something with their storyline. And at the very end there, we get a Dark Knight Returns rematch between All Might and All for One, where All Might switches from being Superman to being Batman, has like the big old Batmobile, and dons a fucking bat cyborg suit with a bunch of different tools and toys matched to the abilities of the students from 1A. So it's basically like one powerless All Might fighting with the support of all of his students against his arch nemesis, and it's fucking cool as hell. And yeah, Horikoshi sure is a US comic book nerd. That's for certain, because he's just goddamn Batman at that moment. He really is. And it's great. And then we get a final season teaser. Like, we have Deku squaring off at Shigaraki at this point, trying to heading to control his anger at the beginning, because he saw that Bakugo was on the brink of death, managing to do that and realizing that he can probably still pull Tomura out of there. And we have All Might fighting against All for One. And then the season is over. And we get a big cliffhanger, and we get a teaser that next season will be the final season. So that's where we end here, and that's where we're going to pick up next. And I don't know. I assume it's gonna they're gonna hit us with that either next summer or next fall, depending on how much work they're gonna put into that, because it's the finale, maybe even a bit longer. I haven't checked the preview yet, and I don't know if they've announced the date for that yet, but it's coming, and then the show is gonna be over. So yeah, I was really happy with the last two seasons. Maybe liked season 6 even a bit more than season 7 in terms of it being more consistent. But this definitely had a lot of nice wrap-ups and culminations of long build-up stuff, some neat surprises, a big old cool shonen battle royale and everything. So there was enough in there where it's like, oh my god, this is really cool. Took a bit to get going in the beginning and for the animation to get better, but by the end I was really, really hyped and enjoyed every second of it. So yeah, looking forward to the final season. I hope it's gonna end in a really cool way. I have some ideas of what they will do. I mean, most of that is probably straightforward. They're gonna pull Tomura from All for One's grasp and make him, change his ways, I guess. And All for One is just gonna run out of time and revert to, like I said, sperm or an egg, and then just be dropped on the ground. I don't fucking know, but something like that. And we'll see if there are more sacrifices along the way, because All Might is not in the best shape, even though he's doing his darndest and fighting like a madman in his Batman suit, and maybe he'll die as well. We'll see. I hope they will be able to revive Bakugo. And yeah, we'll see how this wraps up, and I'm looking forward to it. But that's it for my not-so-quick review of Season 7 of My Hero Academia, because again, I wrote down more than I expected. John, you have something that you watched from beginning to end, but that we're not going to make a full review. What is that going to be?
I mean, I had a couple things, but I feel like the only thing really worth mentioning is Grendizer U.
Yes.
I don't have the 30-minute long review to go into.
Please don't.
But not having watched the original Grendizer, I'm not sure how this compares to it, because this was like a 12-episode thing, where the original Grendizer was apparently 74 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know just how compressed it is, or what they removed, or what they changed, and I don't think all of it is actually even translated. I'm not sure I want to go back to an old 1970s anime and rewatch that, but
I mean, they changed the where the story is taking place, right? They changed the locale from Japan to
the initial setting, yeah, but then they eventually do end up going back to, the Kabuto facility in Japan, and they sort of start to make it into more of a global story, because when the Vegans are like, hey, so every day you don't hand over Duke Fleet to us, we're going to destroy a different world capital. And they basically nuke Washington, D.C. at one point.
I mean, couldn't they have waited until next year?
No, sorry.
Not much of value would have been lost then, I guess. I mean, aside from all the innocent people, but if they'd only bombed the White House, then maybe they would have hit the right person.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, they sort of do that, and like everyone on Earth is like, well, I guess we have to hand over Duke Fleet. And, we kind of touched on bits of the story before, but it's like Duke, back on his home planet, used Grendizer to fend off some bad dudes, but the power of Grendizer is absolute, and it kind of takes a hold of him and makes him out to be a bad guy. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a fugitive, because he ends up dealing a lot more damage than he intends, and apparently he has killed his to-be wife, but not really. J.K. Law, she ends up joining up with the Vegans, and a lot of it is really on the nose, because the Vega star is shaped like a giant wedding ring.
I mean, it's an old series technique. I don't know if it was that overt in the old version, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I was trying to look it up and having trouble digging it up, but I'm like, guys, come on, really? That's like really on the nose.
I mean, that can be fun, right? Like, if you can laugh at it, and if the show is maybe also poking some fun at that, and being like not painfully earnest, but like super earnest about it in a fun way. I don't know if that is the case for this one.
No, they play it really straight, really
I mean, it
straight.
can also be fun. Like, I think it often works better when the show is playing it straight than if it's like mocking itself. Like, in certain parts, I'm really sick of like a show constantly winking at the camera. No, let's play it straight, play it earnest, and act like you don't know what you're putting on the screen. Like, that can also work. Depending on how the story is set up. But it seems like in this case it didn't.
I mean, I didn't dislike it. I will say that. Like, there was no part of the story I was like, God, this sucks. I want to stop watching. But there were parts where I was like, yeah, okay, sure, all right. Like I said during the sneak peek, I didn't realize just how entwined this was with Mazinger Z. So, we get Koji and all of his crew. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I guess that was probably for the people who had watched Mazinger before. And they were like, okay, we'll ease you into it. Here's something that you know. I feel like that was probably the aim behind it.
Yeah. But that makes it weird. Okay. Like, we didn't get a full-on Mazinger reboot series in recent time, did we? I know there were a couple of movies, but I don't think we got like a full-on TV series remake of this, which I would have expected to come before the goddamn sequel series that we got. So weird.
I don't know if it was a remake, but there was a 2009 TV series. And like I said, I don't know if that's a remake. It might have been. I'm not sure. And then there was the 2018 movie, Infinity. So, it is still at least existed in the
it's in the public space. Yeah.
Super robot cultural zeitgeist, as it were.
I mean, it can probably never disappear from there as long as Super Robot Wars exist.
Okay, yeah. So the 2009 series was apparently a retelling of the original.
But again,
which I have still not watched, and I would like to eventually. So,
and that's like 15 years ago. So, like, I would have expected them just like, okay, we're gonna do a Mazinger reboot thing, and then immediately after that, we're gonna go into Grendizer, and we're gonna do the whole shebang. I would have expected them to then, but also maybe this Grendizer show was just created as a tie-in to the video game, maybe like to cross-advertising and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of smacks a little bit of brand synergy, kind of the way Dragon Ball Daima and Sparking Zero were dropped on the same day. So,
and it makes sense, right? Like if you have like more visibility due to those existing at the same time, and maybe word of mouth and everything. Have you played the game, the PS4 or PS5 game that has just come out?
I bought it when it was like super cheap on Steam, and I haven't touched it yet. I hear it was all right, though.
Yeah. It seems like one of those B-tier platinum games. Like,
I mean, it looks like a sort of average character action game.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it. I still have it in my backlog list, and I wanted to get it when it got super cheap, but haven't done so yet.
Yeah, the plot goes weird places where the Vegans are trying to, just systematically destroy the entire planet because they can't get the one guy they want. And Grendizer is this all-powerful super robot. The sister of the girl that Duke is supposed to marry has her own super robot called Aquadizer, and there's a big square off between that. I am having trouble remembering characters' names because they actually throw a surprising amount at you in this show. There's Duke's sister Maria, who can sort of see the future. It's weird and not 100% explained, but it's okay. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Duke is supposed to be married to Rubina, but her sister Tarona is like, I will have none of this fraternizing with the enemy sort of thing. And she's like very very straight up, just plays it straight the whole time. But Rubina is supposed to have been dead, but she kind of wavers between, the Vegan Empire is the greatest of all. We have to capture and find Duke Fleed. But then when it sort of becomes apparent that, hey, so all of the things that happened back on Planet Fleed weren't exactly Duke's fault, she's sort of like, well, maybe we don't have to do that thing. And she tries and goes to see him. And at one point she does go see him, and she and Duke get married. But just kidding, it was actually Torona in disguise.
Whoa.
Because she's like, if I marry you, then you can't harm my sister any longer, you awful man. And it's like, Jesus Christ. And all this culminates in taking the fight to the Vega Star and all of their saucer beasts, and there's a ton of them, and Mazinger Z gets a massive power-up so it can actually fight on the same level as a Grendizer, because, there's a massive power gap between Grendizer and the Vegans and Mazinger, because, that stupid, awful terrestrial technology.
Yeah.
Who cares? There's this one character, Casado, who's supposed to have been one of the Fleed Knights alongside Duke, but he's all like, I don't like how strong you are, Duke Fleed. And he's just out to kill Duke. And there's this moment where it's like, oh, maybe he can turn around. No, okay, no, he's dead. Never mind.
Whoops.
And I realize I'm speeding past a lot of this, but I feel like they were speeding past this because they condensed 74 episodes down to 12, as far as I can tell. And they have this big old fight with the Vegan leader, who's got a face inside his face, and it's weird, and it's very Go Nagai.
Super distorted.
And it doesn't really matter because Rubina ends up getting killed in the end, and it's like, we didn't get the good ending anyway.
Okay.
It was fun. It moved about 150 miles an hour, but it was a fun watch. If you want something that's like, a fast watch, you could check it out. Good luck finding where to watch it, though. I'm sure if you know your way around the internet, you'll be able to find a way to watch it, like the way the both of us had. Well, I know you ended up dropping it, but I ended up sticking it out and had to find ways to watch it. But it's out there. The quality of the production kind of goes up and down a bit, but I don't ever feel like it was egregiously bad. There's maybe a couple frames here and there that were like, but it wasn't like aggressively awful. So I still think it was enjoyable for what it was. So yeah, and like I said, get your brand synergy from playing the game. Maybe eventually I'll play it and report back and be like, hey, maybe this game was good or maybe it was bad. Who knows? I haven't looked up any Metacritic or OpenCritic scores on games for a real long time, so.
I just know that Grendizer is a weird fucking looking robot when he is in his vehicle form. Big old UFO.
Yeah, the UFO form, and I mean, it is called in the original UFO robot Grendizer, so there you go.
He is that. It's just one of those very unusual mech designs that you really never see anymore. Probably for a good reason, but it's fun. It's fun that it's like, well, yep. They didn't change anything about it, really, right? Like that they still kept it like as this round fucking UFO typical.
Yeah, like a saucer, yeah.
Saucer, yeah. So
well, because the vegan baddies of the week are called saucer beasts. Yeah. So there you go.
It's just cool, just going with the theme. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, check it out if you just want your hit of 1970s nostalgia, because it definitely feels modernized enough, but you could still tell that it's like, yeah, there's parts of here that are a little bit of its time, especially Grendizer's design in particular. Everyone else kind of got a little bit of a facelift, so that's fine. But
I guess then that's in for the Quick and the Dead, and
yes. So I guess it's up to the next thing.
Let's get over and do some movie magic. Alright, yes. We initially intended to maybe do Grendizer as a full review and, My Hero Academia Season 7 full review. But whatever. There was something sneaking up on us. We're like, oh, this came out. And that was the movie Gridman Universe. And we reviewed the first two shows that connect to that movie, which was SS Gridman and SS Dino Zenon. And we liked those shows. And we're like, okay, maybe just review a movie. But at the same time, I was like, maybe that's not enough for the full segment. So why don't I check out a couple of other movies? Because I intended to anyway, because they were also landing on my doorstep. So before we get to Grendizer Universe, before we get to Gridman Universe.
I mean, they're both GU.
Yes, very confusing. Two words, completely different, but the letters are the same. Damn it. But yeah, so before we get to Gridman Universe, I have 3 other movies that I checked out and I want to talk about at least for a while. So, John, take a cup of hot cocoa or something and lean back while I talk in detail. No,
Oh no!
At least the first 2 are going to be very quick. The third one I have to talk a bit longer about it because you'll see. The first one that I checked out, sports anime, something I've been looking forward to a long time, and that is HAIKYU, The Dumpster Battle. Weird name, I guess, but if you've watched the show and I've reviewed the 5 seasons at this point? I'm not sure, 4 or 5. At least done quick reviews of the other ones. Don't remember in what form exactly, but I've talked about all of the seasons. And when we last left our gang from Karasuno, they were slapped up in the middle of a big old tournament, the Nationals, the national tournament, national volleyball tournament. So, and to my surprise, the next match that they were gonna have were against their longtime, technically rival from the other side of the country, Nekoma. And they have like this long history. It's the crows against the cats. And they're gonna have the battle at the dumpsters and everything. So there was a big build up to that happening again. They had some training matches before. They made friends with some people from the other team and everything. Like our main character Shoyo having a really good, hitting it off really well with one of the important characters from the other team, Kenma. And it's like, oh, this is gonna be the big finale of the Nationals. Those 2 teams against each other. It can't be any other way. Well, they fight before even hitting the quarterfinals, and that is this movie. And I was like, what? Wait, hold on a second. How is this not the finale of the National? What is coming after this? And I'm still wondering about that because yeah, this is what this movie is. This is those 2 teams that have like basically had this build up through the entirety of the show, fighting before they even reach the quarterfinals. And it's cool. Like, it's a cool match. It's good old HAIKYU. It's production IG on the movie budget with everything that it that entails that you can imagine. It looks gorgeous. There's some amazing plays of great animation in there. There's an insane POV shot at the end from, I think it was Kenma's perspective, where you just see them do a bunch of plays, and it's just first person the entire time, and you just wonder how the fuck. And it's so well animated. You're looking at that in awe. Up to that moment, it was just the usual HAIKYU stuff, and it looked great and everything. But a lot of that movie is also dialogue and everything and flashbacks. And you're like, whoa, okay. But that shot was just so fucking good that it basically it elevates the entire movie.
That sounds cool, actually.
Yeah, which at that point was just, your standard get shown movie. But basically the whole movie / game is about Shoyo getting Kenma to the point of, for the first time in his life, saying that he has fun playing the game. Because Kenma, he is good at the game technically in terms of tactics and everything. Like, he's a good playmaker. He knows where his teammates need to be. He knows how to get them winning in clutch situations and everything. He's not really that much into sports in general. He's more of a game guy. Like, everything he does is kind of like references to Dragon Quest and stuff like that, and RPGs in general. And, and he's like, I think, referring to subpar players as slimes or something like that. in
God.
that. So, or that was from another anime. Maybe I'm mixing things up, but he's the game guy. So the video game guy. And he's just started playing volleyball because his best friend, who's also on his team, is really into volleyball. So he's just got strung along, and he's never been super, or has not admitted to super being into that. He was like, I'll play it because I guess I'm good at it, but also I'm not a super fit person and run out of steam quickly. But I'm a smart guy. I know where to put the players, and I know where to put myself, I know where to delegate, I know where to direct the others. So I'm an important player. But, there was never really the passion in there that some of the other characters had. And Shoyo was like, I'm going to make him admit that he loves volleyball. And that is basically this entire movie. And of course, that's what happens at the end of the game when he gets him there. And that is the emotional high point of this. And it's more important than Karasuno actually winning the game, which they do. But, it's not this super last minute usual, sports anime stuff where it's like, oh, and now they're gonna hit the points and everything. It's a really standard play that decides it, and it's just Kenma just having sweaty hands, and then he drops the ball, and that's it. And it's just basically, it could happen to anyone, and it's not like the super ingenious play by Karasuno or something that outmaneuvers him or everything. No, it's just a prolonged play, and because they're playing a long time, he is sweaty, and the ball slips off his hand, and then they have lost. And it's like, it's a real anticlimax to that match, technically, but the important part happens before that, and that is when he admits that he actually loves playing this game. He loves playing it with his friends. He loves playing against good opponents, like Karasuno, and like friends on the other side, like rivals, like Shoyo. So that's the emotional high point and climax of that actual match. And then the Karasuno winning is just, the thing that needs to happen, really. Which might disappoint some people, considering some of the matches in HAIKYU are just so energetic and exciting and everything. And that, I don't necessarily feel like that is this match in this movie. And considering the way it was hyped up and everything was built up to it, that might feel like a bit of a letdown to some people. It didn't really feel for me. I was surprised that that's what they went with, and that they were completely focused on the character stuff. But that also works in regards to what HAIKYU was doing until now. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. I'm super surprised this wasn't the finale, though. And so I'm pretty sure I know who they're going to play against, because there's this one team that's going to probably wait for them in the quarterfinals that has this kind of like anti-shoujo, like this with the same body attributes and everything. He can jump super high, he can do super quick plays and everything. He just has white hair, so it's white shoujo or something like that. And they're probably gonna square off. But the weird thing is, these will be the quarterfinals, and as far as I know, only 2 movies have been announced so far. This one and the next one. So are we getting more, or are they going to get kicked out of the nationals in the quarterfinals? Which is my current assumption. Which would
there's always time for them to announce more. Yeah,
sure. But it's like the manga is over, and I don't know how much more story they had to cover. So this could be like we tried, but we're not there yet in terms of capability. So I also wouldn't be surprised if that's how they ended. Like, they're probably gonna lose against the better shoujo in the next match. That could be the case. Bit of a spoiler, I guess, like with announcing only the 2 movies, but also, like you said, maybe they'll announce more. We'll see. But yeah, really interesting. That would be like a Ganbare Kickers situation. A soccer anime I watched faithfully multiple times through from beginning to end back in the day, because it was airing on TV over here and everyone liked it. Not Captain Tsubasa, but the other one. And they, at least in the TV series version, they lost the finale in the tournament they were playing at the end. Like, they lost the finale against their arch rivals. And that was really, for me, watching that back in the day, that was like, what? Our heroes don't win at the end? What the fuck?
Well, how many times did Ash lose in the Pokemon League?
Yes, but that was before Ash, so I
True,
I didn't know about his chump ass, but so... But that was really surprising to me. So would be interesting to see something like that again and see how the team handles that and everything. And yeah, we'll see. And also the Kickers won in a movie version that changed the ending of that game, which I haven't seen yet. I should try to. I mean, I think I already found it somewhere, but I haven't watched it yet. So it would be very interesting. German subs, sure. But anyway, that cool movie. Liked it a lot. Interested to see how the next one pans out and if that will be the end of the series or if we'll get more. If there was more stuff left from the manga or if that is where the Nationals and the story end. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that whenever that will end up. I watched an anime movie at the movie theater that just came out, and that is The Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim, which technically is an US produced movie for all intents and purposes, but it has a lot of Japanese staff. Among them, the director Kenji Kamiyama, who they really put front and center in the advertising, like in the trailers, from legendary director Kenji Kamiyama. It was like, wait, who is Kenji Kamiyama again? Well, he directed a lot of Ghost in the Shell standalone complex stuff. He directed, he created the Blood series and directed that, and he also directed the new Ultraman Netflix shows, I think. So yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. But yeah, he's the director of this, and this is just a full-on anime. This is no, like, the character designs, the way it looks, the way it animates. This is just Lord of the Rings anime. And I was surprised by that. I was actually especially surprised putting them putting that in the theater and in IMAX for an entire week. It was like, oh, okay, never seen an anime on IMAX before. I'm definitely gonna do that. So yeah, and the story is basically a prequel. It's set before the events of the Ring War in the original 3 Lord of the Rings movies, but it is definitely in that universe. It's not something that plays is an Elseworld story or something like that. And the focus of this are the Rohirrim, so the people from the riders of Rohan, right? Its focus is on this daughter of one of the more, I guess, well-known characters, Helm Hammerhand. You know who was Helm's Deep named after later on, which is the big set piece for the second Lord of the Rings movie. And this is partially his story, but also more so the story of his daughter, who is kind of like this. Wants to be a shield maiden, which is not really a thing anymore at this point. And there was like, we should get rid of that old custom. And who has seen shield maidens anymore? So a woman who doesn't do just, the classic womanly princess things, but also fights on horseback and everything else. And she is kind of that. She is pretty wild, and she wants to be more than just married off to some prince of Gondor and... yeah, and then some shit happens, like her dad, Helm Hammerhand, lives up to his name and accidentally, which is the single punch, kills a lord from a different part of his kingdom, and that causes that lord's son to rebel, and there's a big old war, and shit hits the fan and everything, and that's basically the entire movie, with different changing set pieces and everything, and Helm Hammerhand's daughter, Hera, being mixed up in that because she's also had kind of a childhood, not necessarily romance, but definitely friend thing going on with the son of the Lord who got killed and everything. So that complicates it, or would complicate it if he was actually a sympathetic character, but he's an absolute asshole, like from beginning to end, like he's the worst. So it's not like they're making you trying to sympathize with his side too. It's like he's just a completely controlling asshole and like the smallest man in terms of, oh God, you were better at me than fighting, and I hated that, and how dare you live your own life and everything, and how dare you make me beg to marry you and whatever. So he's he's real incel prince, I guess. But goddamn, uh, he yeah, he's a shitty guy, and the movie is just him throwing an army against Hera and her father and everything, and then having a big old showdown at Helm's Deep, which is not called that at the beginning. I don't know what it was called in English. Was it called Horncastle Hornburg? There, it was called Hornburg in German. I had to watch it in the German dub because there was no original version showing in IMAX. So German dub was solid because it was a big movie production. So of course they got some good voice actors there. But I would also like to see it in English again. It's a very pretty movie overall. It is handicapped a bit by an over-reliance on unnecessary rotoscoping and a few bits of shoddy CG. There is, I don't mind rotoscoping on 2D characters. I think that can look really cool, especially in 2D fight sequence. The problem is they don't use it mostly for that for some reason, or only for that, but also in the dialogue scenes. And that becomes somewhat distracting at moments where the characters just are over animated. Like they just weirdly move around and move their shoulders and turn in every direction while they talk and everything like that, which is super unnecessary. And the problem is, if you have the rotoscoping on traditional 2D animation with a limited frame count in fighting sequences, you necessarily don't notice that, or it can actually enhance the kinetic energy of the fight scenes. The problem is, in dialogue scenes, it just looks weird. It's just like these characters who shouldn't behave like 3D models, trying to behave like 3D models in a super fluid way. And 2D, not Disney 2D, super fluid 2D rotoscoped animation, but, limited frame animation that can look really good, but it was not made for that kind of behavior, especially not in its dialogue scenes. And so you have like this weird moments with over-animated characters just going down the stairs and talking and trying to look way too much like motion capture and everything, which I must assume also played into that. And sometimes it just looks weird and it looks unnecessarily over-animated. It's like, you should have just kept that kind of. You should just put that additional work into the fight sequences and just not have it in these dialogue scenes, which it's just too much and it distracts what actually is being said and everything, because the character details can't match what the animation is trying to do with the rotoscoping. So that was a bit of a downer. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a downer. It's just a distraction, right? It doesn't ruin the movie or anything, but it's a choice. It's a choice where I wasn't sure why they made it. It was like, why did you do that? Like, all the scenes where you don't do that in terms of dialogue and everything look fine, but when you just try to go just full ham with the rotoscoping and the dialogues, it just looks weird because the animation just can't match your speed there, and it's just a weird choice. It's just like them saying, "Hey, it's a movie and it's gonna be on the big screens and internationally. It's a Lord of the Rings thing. It's a big franchise, so we have to pull our all into that, and we're just gonna throw all of our animation talent at even the smallest scene." And it just doesn't work for that kind of animation style, in my opinion. So, and then we have a bit of shoddy CG on some of the stuff there. Like, the backgrounds are fine. Like, you immediately see it's CG, like the mountains, when the first moment where like this eagle is flying through the landscape of Rohan, and you see like the mountains surrounding it and everything. It looks very much like CG, but very good CG, very high res, very detailed and everything. That it would have been fine if they like kept it to that, but they also put it sometimes on some of the structure, like a siege tower that they're building, right? And then it crashes into Helm's Deep, and it just looks like it doesn't belong to the drawn stuff, like it clashes with the hand-drawn stuff. And the same for a scene where an elephant is just running into a barricade, and the barricade's CG and splinters in a really weird way, like someone turned off the Havoc engine to maximum or something like that. It just looks really fucking weird. And these are the moments where, like, I get what you were trying to do, but it doesn't work. So maybe you should have done it a bit differently. But again, it doesn't really take down the movie so much, where it's like it doesn't ruin the experience. What is more problematic is that the story loses a lot of its momentum in the second half. I feel like once they get to Helm's Deep, it just not comes to a grinding halt, but it slows down severely and never really picks up from that again in terms of storytelling speed and interesting things happening and something. There's still a big old battle at the end, and there's some cool fight scenes and everything, but it's like it feels like it's treading a bit of water from that moment on. So those were my problems with it. I enjoyed it though overall. I wouldn't mind to see more Lord of the Rings anime, but maybe makes a few different decisions the next time you do that, if we'll ever get that, because I think it's not super successful at the box office. And it's got some big contenders coming up, which it won't match, like Sonic 3 and Mufasa. So good luck with that. Like, I mean, I went at a time that they were showing it at a time where you can't expect anyone to show up for it anywhere. It was like 2 p.m. in the afternoon on weekdays. It's like, yeah, this is not a movie necessarily meant for kids, because it's also kind of violent in certain parts, and it's Lord of the Rings stuff. So maybe, I don't know, if you want to take your young kids who are maybe not in school right now, take to this. But like, I had the big old IMAX room. There were like with me 6 other people. So, and it was his first week, I think. So, at least over here, it's probably not getting that much audience. So, and it sounds it's the same for the US box office. So we'll see how much money it makes. Maybe it will not discourage them to do more in that vein. I wouldn't mind it. I would like to see more from this universe in anime form, but also maybe this was a one and doneer. We'll see.
I'm sure all of the Lord of the Rings nerds out there will do their best to go see it.
Yeah. I mean, you say that. I was talking to a colleague of mine, and she was like, well, I'm probably not going to see it in a theater. I'm going to wait until it's on home release. I'm like, oh, well, yeah. Okay.
Never mind.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe also, I feel like I've seen the trailer a lot, especially in front of big movies, which surprised me. But I don't know how good the advertising or how prominent the advertising is outside of that. So I don't even know how many people are aware that there's a new Lord of the Rings movies in theaters.
True.
So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. But again, solid movie, was entertaining. Like I said, slowed down a bit by the end, but a bit of weird creative choices there. But overall, it was competently made. It was fun. There was a lot of cool action stuff in there, and it was despite some of the weird choices, it was very pretty. Like really, really big budget anime pretty. So, yes.
That's good then.
The last one before we get to our big shared review is a last minute thing. I was like, oh, right, I haven't seen that one yet. Maybe I should check that out. And, Jesus Christ, that thing blew me the fuck away. And that's the first Slam Dunk, which is... So, first of all, I'm a bit late on this, since it came out at the end of 2022 in Japan. But, hey, better late than never. And also, it's been only available on home media since summer this year, so I guess I'm not that late to the party. And this movie adapts the final match from the Slam Dunk basketball manga, which hadn't been adapted until now, not even in the original TV series, which I loved. I loved the original Slam Dunk TV anime, but it ended before it was able to adapt all of the manga. There were also 4 other movies of that, aside from the TV show, in the 90s, but those were all set during the series or were prequels and not after it, if I remember correctly. So as far as I know, this is the first attempt of adapting the finale of that manga, which, given that, the title is a bit of a misnomer, I think, because it's technically the last Slam Dunk.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I wasn't quite sure about why the creator picked that, but it doesn't matter, really. This is also pretty much a dream come true project. First of all, this happening after such a long time of the original series. Hell, when was the original series? Let me look this up quickly. 1993.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so I don't know when it wrapped up, probably 1994 or 5. But I think it ran for 60 or 80 episodes. And now 2024, or 2022, I guess, we get a big budget movie wrap up for this. And not only that, but it was directed and written by the original creator of the manga, Takehiko Inoue.
Well, now.
Yes. Which feels like an incredibly rarity, John. Did we ever have that where the original manga creator was also the director of the adaptation?
I don't know.
Like, actually, with the first, not only like cooperating or an assistant director or something like that, but actually first and front writer and director of that thing. I don't remember anything.
Think of, but
yeah, I don't remember anything like that ever happening, ever. But that guy apparently such a big deal. I don't know if he's directed anything else outside of this. I did look it up. I should have. But holy shit! Like, if this is your first direction credit, Inoue, what the fuck? Like, this is so good. It's one of the best anime movie things I've ever seen. Probably anime things in general. Like, this came out of nowhere, and like, again, I should look this up. It's probably not his only direction credit. It can't be. Like, and I know it's not his only writing credit because he wrote the goddamn manga. So, but maybe also the only movie he wrote. And what? Like, I know anime are not created by one person, but you need to have a person with a strong vision also when it comes to the visuals, and that was definitely there. I don't know if it was only for him or if he was said, no, this probably should look like this and this looked like this, and everything else was handled by the animation directors and whatever. But holy fucking shit. So most of the match footage in this is CG, which had me worried before going into it. Because I was like, okay, full CG, it's gonna look wonky, and I don't know. You know how I am with CG in anime. But holy fucking shit, does this movie look downright incredible pretty much every step of the way. It's fluid, it's sharp, it's impeccably directed. Every important scene looks as good as it can, and then some. And it uses like this special shading that really makes it look like the original manga come to life. It's fantastic. Like, there's this moment after the short introductory scenes that we have with the main character where the actual match starts, because, you know, just like the HAIKYU movie, this is basically just this one match. And you have like these our main characters basically walking onto the court, but starting us out as like this rough drafts, like with a pencil, and then slowly being built up to being full character models. And they do that for every of the characters while the soundtrack is playing in the background. And it's like this somewhat rock march where they walk onto the court, and it looks fucking amazing. And you see one after another of these characters being realized and put into color, and then the opposing team, and then they're heading off against each other, and it's like this versus screen in Street Fighter. And I'm like, what is happening, and why am I crying? It's fucking amazing. So the animation production was handled by Toei and Dandelion Studio. The latter wasn't really on my radar before, but good lord, is it now? And they handled the CG in a lot of movies and TV shows: HAIKYU, the Berserk movies, Lupin Part 4, Mushoku Tensei. I don't know if they have improved so much since the Berserk movies, because that was a mixed bag. Especially when it came to the mass scenes with a lot of soldiers. They looked really stiff and wonky, but also there was Studio 4C also handling this, so I don't know who did what there. Again, I don't know if they've improved so much, or if it's the fantastic direction making their stuff shine, or if it's Toei handling a lot of that as well. But in a lot of moments, this outshines Orange, like what Studio Orange has given to us, and that is both our opinion. I think they're the top-notch anime studio when it comes to CG anime. They're getting better and better. Like, we're both looking forward. Beastars season, the final season is gonna hit any minute, at least the first part. And we're looking forward to that. Trigun Stampede looked amazing. So they are definitely the top-notch studio. And granted, they're going for a bit of a different style here. And we haven't seen Orange operate on a movie budget yet. But what Dandelion is doing here is definitely the new benchmark. Next to Ufotable, I guess, because they also employ a lot of CG. Although Ufotable uses CG more sparingly when it comes to animating actual characters, which is always the most tricky thing, in my opinion, to make look fluid and not stiff. But whoever from Dandelion or Toei handled the character animation in this, kudos! Well done. Definitely one of the examples now that rank for me at the top when it comes to showing that anime can do CG well if the proper budget and creative vision is available. The soundtrack is also ridiculously good, done by Satoshi Sakebe, who also did the music for the Ghibli series Ronya the Robber's Daughter and the movie From Up on Poppy Hill. But the presentation is not even the best thing the movie has to offer. No, that is its story and characters. Like I said, just like the HAIKYU movie I just talked about, this one also tells its story during the course of basically just a single match. But in contrast to the HAIKYU movie, this one also works as a standalone film. All you really need to know is that these are the finals of the National High School Basketball Tournament. You get introduced to the most important characters during the match with a lot of flashbacks. But by far the best decision the creators of this movie have made is shifting the perspective away from the original main character of the story, Sakuragi Hanamichi, or Hanamichi Sakuragi, and centering it mostly instead on Ryota Miyagi, who joins the manga and the TV series in its second half. Why was this a good decision? Well, while I absolutely love Hanamichi and his goofball antics, his story is mostly getting into basketball because he crushes on a girl. There's more to it than that. He was a delinquent before and didn't really belong. He has like his buddies, his goon squad that he hangs around with, and he makes trouble all the time, and he's a dumbass. But then he gets into basketball because of this girl he crushes on, and he generally learns to care about the game and some members of his team to an extent. But all of that is still kind of superficial, and that might be a bit lacking in substance to some, especially if it's like they're only the movie that they have, and if they made Hanamichi the main focus of that. So instead, they make Ryota the main character of this. A guy who lost both his dad and brother in quick succession when he was a young boy. A brother who taught him to play basketball and who he downright idolized. And this final match is against the team his brother wanted to eventually play against and beat, and never got to do that because he died. So immediately, you have this incredibly strong emotional hook. They basically turned this match into that boy's life story, standalone story, and it works so incredibly well. You have the complicated relationship to his brother and his mom, his troubled youth, how basketball plays into all of that. It grabs you, it hooks you, and it never lets go. It's an excellent sports drama and movie, period. Loved every goddamn second of it, and was downright trembling in the final moment of the match. It's so good, and it just escalates and escalates and escalates when it comes to the match moments, actually, and it gives every character, not all of them, but a lot of the characters, like each their cool moments to shine, and also a bit of background story. If you've seen the TV show, you know them and you know what to do with them. But also, if you haven't, that's why I mean what I mean when I say it works as a standalone movie. You get enough character work in this to really pretty much connect to every character, at least on the team that you're supposed to root for, not so much for the other team. But you learn so much about them, and everyone has like a great moment in the match where they can shine and they can turn around this match. And the match footage just looks incredible. It's just such good animation, such good CG. And we have traditional animation as well, mostly in the dialogue scenes outside of the match and everything. But the CG in the match itself, and how fluid it is, and how the plays are visualized, and how much the camera swerves around the characters, and how quick everything moves, it just looks so fucking good. And yeah, I really recommend everyone to watch this. Sure, you get more out of it if you're already familiar with the story and characters, because naturally some of them, like Akagi Rukawa and Kogure, for example, don't get as much screen time as they deserve. And from the anime team, you really get only a bit of background on one of the guys, but it really doesn't matter, because this story is so expertly crafted and so incredibly well presented that this is really all you need. And it maybe will give some people the incentive to check out the original show or manga. So that's great. And like I said, it works so well that they changed the focus character for the audience to the ostensible main character to one of the side characters and made him the main character of this particular movie. It works so much better than if they would have chosen Hanamichi, as much as I love that guy. So fantastic idea, fantastic movie. I loved it. I would definitely watch it again and again, probably. And I hope everyone out there who likes sports anime, or just anime or movies in general, will give this a look, because hot damn, if not, y'all are missing out. That's absolute once in a lifetime movie, in my opinion. I was just blown away. I wish I could have seen it on the big screen. I don't know if it had a run over here, maybe, and I won't look that up, because I will just be very angry at myself that I skipped on that because it was like, it's CG, so it's probably not as good. That will show me. Goddamn. So yeah, I'm super happy that this, after all these years, after like 30 years, holy shit, I got a finish to this story, and what a finish it was. What a goddamn finish it was. But yeah, it's not the only probable finish we got in movie form this time, which will bring us to our last movie review, and the one that both of us watched. So, John, why don't you take it away? I've talked enough. I mean, I will talk again, obviously, but why don't you take it away and tell us what was happening in the Gridman universe?
A lot, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So this basically takes place a year after the end of SSSS Gridman. And Yuta is trying to work up the courage to confess to Rika. And then kaiju attack.
As they do.
And it's like we're thrown kind of right straight into it. And Gridman appears before Yuta again. He's like, so basically the balance between worlds is starting to fall apart. And then everyone else starts appearing from the series and from Dyna Xenon as well. And it's, like I said, it kind of happens all at once right at the start. And it's...
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I feel like trying to summarize this movie is tough, but they talk about this might be part of a phenomenon called the Big Crunch, which I guess as opposed to the Big Bang. I don't know.
That's how they phrase it. Yeah, I don't know if that is an actual term that exists.
Maybe in 100 billion years it will. As you know, astrophysics, something, the universe is constantly expanding. You can argue about how it's expanding, because I was actually listening to a talk about that last week, the week before. Some people think it's linear, some people think it's exponential. That's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, so this kaiju appears, and Dynarex, and suddenly Galma, and everyone from I still won't be able to get over the name Neon Genesis Junior High School. Never, not to this day.
This is definitely one of the movies, I mean, outside of that was already in the Gridman show, them being that, part of the Gridman Alliance being called that. But this is definitely one of those movies where it's like, oh yeah, this is ex-Gainax crew. Like, in terms of where it goes and how weird it gets in parts and how meta it gets. Like, this is a very meta movie. Like, one of the interesting and, I guess, very important side bits that might not seem like it, but it definitely is that they're trying to put on the play in this movie of the events of what happened in Gridman. And
Yuta has kind of had his memory wiped from the end of Gridman, and Rika and Utami want to tell the world their story.
Yeah, and Rika intentionally, in the beginning, was like, she really wants to let the world know about Akane's side of the story. You know, the ostensible antagonist of the first series, but who actually was the main character in disguise, considering her arc was the most important one. And, you know, it's really funny how the show plays into what happens with, like, they're setting up they're trying to set up the play, which feels like it's going to be a thing inside the thing. And then the script needs to be changed because not everyone is happy with how it's set up. Like, that it is it's too complicated. The thing that is really important to Rika, no one gets. It's like, no, let's just throw more characters in there. Like, once the Dyna Xenon characters arrives, they just throw out the Akane part and throw the new characters in there, and now there's just more characters and everyone likes it. It's like, hey, this is more fun. And I was like, okay, Trigger.
Yes. The solution is to throw in more characters and make it more confusing.
No, but it's not, apparently. Not for everyone liked it because now it's more fun because it's just ridiculous. But Rika's like, well, it feels like, and Yuta is saying the same. I feel like it's missing the focus now. Like, the Akane stuff was the heart of this. Why did you take it out? And Rika's like, well, nobody liked it because they didn't get it and they felt like it was unrealistic. And I wonder if the criticism Akane's character received in the script of the play is a reference to real-life criticism the writing of her character got in the show. If I remember correctly, a lot of people thought at least her turn at the end was not convincing from going from bad guy to good guy, technically. Though I disagree with that. I think I've made that evident in our review of Gridman. And her arc was my favorite from that show, and she was the ostensible main character, like I said. It was like a lot of this, the stuff that relates to the play in the show, them changing it last minute or several times, right? And throwing it out, and then Yuta commenting on it, feeling like, now that you've taken out the Akane part, it's losing the core, it has lost its heart, it has lost its core. Yeah, it was very important to me too, Rika says, but also people didn't get it, so I wanted to be to get the audience out of our project happy because it's like a school play and everything. So maybe that's more important. And all of this, the entire play part of this, feels like it's a meta commentary on making the Gridman Dynazenon and Gridman Universe stuff, like from Trigger. And Trigger is not averse to doing that in general. They have done this before. Like, I feel like, was it Little Witch Academia or some of their stuff just feels like they're commenting on creating anime, like by making anime. Like their story is a comment on doing that and the problems that rise from that and the hurdles and what that can entail and everything. And this again feels definitely like a commentary on that as well. It was at some point a little bit. Yeah, I'm not criticizing that. I think that is super fun. It felt just like really evident at certain moments. It was like, okay, I guess I know what you're doing with that here. And I'm going to talk about the point where they arrive at, in my opinion, later on, which is my interpretation of that. But considering what came before it, it was really fun. But yeah, things get really weird, like once the Dan and Zenon crew appears, right? Because, you know, we get the explanation with the big crunch and everything, but is that really it? And what else happens? Yuta starts to see ghosts, right?
Yeah.
And we have this very, like, first of all, the movie is really good at conveying this feeling of cozy melancholy, just like the previous shows. Like a weekend in the summer, and, you know, it's something happening at school, and everything seems to be okay, but also maybe not. And then things get more unsettling. There's this weird moment where they talk about the play, and suddenly Alexis Carib is with them in the fucking restaurant or coffee shop or wherever they have made their headquarters. And the only ones like seeming to be faced by this is Yuta.
Oh, I'm just Rika's father wearing a costume. It's like,
yeah, it's really interesting. Like, the movie gives you small hints that something isn't quite right with all of this, like everything that is happening. A lot of this is too convenient. And that fits neatly with the meta talk about the script, because it seems the writers use this to justify some of the more overt plot conveniences, I guess, contrivances. But yeah, we have the Alexis Carib stuff, him suddenly being there, but also maybe he isn't, and Yuta is imagining the whole thing. Yuta is saying, wait, I haven't felt pain since I got hit by that volleyball in the head. So that is super weird. Why is that the case? Why can only I see ghosts? What is going on? But everything they're trying to get to the bottom of this, a new kaiju, we have kaiju interrupters. New kaiju appears on the scene, they have to fight it. And the battles are cool, right? Like, what do we have? We have the big fight in the beginning, and then later a team up of Grid Knight and Dana Zenon and Gridman, I guess. They're stunning, you know. The battles are mostly CG. Of course, we have some, for the key scenes, we have some traditionally animated stuff as well. Even though, like, the fully upgraded versions of Gridman and Grid Knight don't really lend themselves super well for prolonged battle choreography, in my opinion.
Yeah, they kind of get a little busy with that.
Yeah, the designs are so goddamn detailed and bulky. You sometimes get a bit of a Bay Former syndrome, as in you don't know what part of their body you're actually looking at. Is that the head? Is that the
Mm.
leg? Is that the ass? Like, what did the kaiju just get hit with? Did it get ass or did it get face palmed? I don't know. Whatever. But it's fun. Like I feel like we get all of what we wanted out of the battles, initial two battles, in terms of seeing Gridman again, seeing Danazen again, seeing different combinations, all the good stuff that we had in the TV show. Would you agree?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yes. I mean, again, it's weird. It's this weird atmosphere of you like, wait, what is actually going on here? Like this, the entire first half of the movie is like, okay, everyone appears. It's a lot, like you said, and you're wondering, like, wait, this all feels like it's falling into place way too neatly, and then not anything is really happening outside of them fighting kaiju. It's like they're not getting to the bottom of it. There's like, oh, it's the big crunch.
Mm.
All the universes start to overlap, but there's no any real reason given for it. And it's like, okay, why is this happening? And at some point, it feels like the characters don't really care. They're just more interested in being in this world and like hanging out. Like, hey, we're gonna eat here at the shop, and also, hey, the Dino Xenon crew is gonna help the characters from Gridman putting up their play. It's like, wait, don't we have more pressing matters to attend to here?
Apparently not.
Yeah. So at that point, it's like, okay, something else is going on, something weird, and what is all this nonsense? Where is this coming from? And apparently, Gridman himself caused all of this nonsense, is what we find out. Because since he was originally a being of pure energy without form, his interactions with humanity is what gave him shape, and he has been evolving since then. And apparently, John, correct me if I misunderstood in your opinion, he is now able to create universes and kind of became the everything like that we see, the Dinozenon universe, the Gridman universe, everything is part of him now, is what he created. Like he's kind of become the god of this.
Like he's unconsciously created and become the universe all at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was like at that point in the movie, I was like, sure, dude.
All right. It doesn't necessarily make sense, like at all, but okay, let's just roll with it.
I gotta say, a lot of this movie didn't make sense to
That's
me,
true.
man.
Yes. It's like, it's asking of you a lot, but also at the same time, it's stating, dude, honestly, it doesn't matter. Just roll with it. Just have fun. Which is, again, where the meta stuff with the script comes in my opinion. It's like, hey, we're just here maybe to have fun. And also, we're just gonna do a thing where we comment on our own work by doing ridiculous stuff in the anime. But we're trying to at the same time, give you all the fan service moments that you wanted in regards to having these two set of characters from the two shows come together and do some wild shit on screen. And they do that. Just... it gets even crazier. But yeah, just like I said, we already kind of had this kind of thing in a small, compact version in Gridman, in the original, in SSSS Gridman. So it doesn't really come out of nowhere, because that's basically what Akane did, right? She got transported to the digital world by Alexis, because she was like a loner who couldn't connect, didn't make any friends, and was a need or something like that, a hikikomori. And was just a shut-in. And he offered her the chance to build her own world, like GTA style, I guess, and do anything in there that she wanted. And if someone wasn't to her liking or went against her wishes, she just killed them in her world and remade the world, let everyone forget that something happened, and basically started over. That was the story of the original show. That was her role as an antagonist, just basically treating these digital beings that she herself created with the help of Alexis to make a world that suited her needs, of being an introvert and shut-in that couldn't easily connect to people. And then our main characters ostensibly, which were just the side characters, like Rika, actually forming a connection with her that made her regret what she has been doing in this digital world, and that was then at some point rebelling against Alexis and going against him, his motivation was just feeding on Akane's negative emotions. That is where he drew his power from. So technically, this is just an escalation of that. Gridman was a being of pure energy, and through his interactions with humanity, got so powerful that he was able to do what Akane did on a grand scale. Just basically doing everything inside this digital universe that he wanted to. And I think we get an explanation for why he was doing it, or why he was susceptible of an outside force making him do that, because that's the second reveal. It's not actually him who did that willingly. It's like this accumulation of kaiju that turned into one big kaiju consciousness that resulted from bad energy, like bad feelings of people. So it's basically all the hate and negative feelings of people that were that were formed into a kaiju body, and that kaiju was sentient enough to be like to feed on Gridman, who felt guilt and regret over robbing Yuta of his memories by fusing with him. That is basically the crux, the whole trigger point of this. Trigger point of this, where it's like, hey, Yuta lost his memory because of me. He lost all the experiences with his friend and everything because he decided to fight together with me to help destroy Alexis and everything, or imprison him. And that is technically my fault. That's how Gridman feels. And because he felt guilty about that and regret over that, he was susceptible to the manipulation by that kaiju, that bad energy kaiju that kind of influenced him to remake the world over and again and bring all these people together. So Yuta could maybe remember and would have a good time and everything. He basically wanted to give him his life back in a way. In a weird way. And of course, at some point he wasn't able to control anything really anymore because he was just completely manipulated by the kaiju. The person who tries to get all of this under control again is Grid Knight, and he eventually steps out of the shadow or manages to break through the barrier that were set up by Gridman, and manages to get through to Yuta and through Yogomi, the character from the Dana Zenon universe, and then together they try to get rid of who is controlling Gridman. And yeah, that's the big old finale of this. What I found really cool was we get live action Akane. In this cool mixed media thing, we first see her eye looking into the universe, talking to Yuta, which is really weird, but also really cool. And then we see her outside in the real world. I assume that's the actual voice actress, right? Of Akane from the first season?
I think it's a different person.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I mean, it could have been either way, but I'm not sure. And she's standing there in this trash heap, with I guess her version of that junk computer or whatever, and is using her power to free Alexis and fuse with him and distracting or fighting the kaiju long enough so that they can get Gridman back and basically tear him from the control of the kaiju. And that's super cool. The moment where she, the live action version, transforms into her anime version and then fuses with Alexis. That's just that's one of the things that you really never see. Aside from Kuso anime, I guess, Pop Team Epic and stuff like that, where we have live action sequences and stuff like that. But it was just really neat. And I thought that was really cool because, we hadn't really seen her. That's how the original... the SS Gridman show ended, of her waking up and reaching for the sky, which matches the ED of that show and everything, which made it come full circle by the end. And now we actually see her in her full real life human form and everything, and interaction with these animated digital characters, and it's super weird but also super cool. It's just something new that I hadn't seen before, and I liked it. And we also get some cool vocal tracks in the movie. We get renditions of the OPs from both shows and the movie theme in the fights, when everything at the ending, the animation goes super crazy overboard in the finale. We get this super cool, traditionally animated fight scenes that just go full trigger in every aspect. And it's just so fun. I think the thing that made me laugh the most was Anocillus II transforming into just a giant lady that basically suits up with a machine cosplay version of her kaiju form. And everyone's like, whoa, this looks super weird. What are you doing? It's so goofy and out of place. And the show knows it. And I loved it. And that was fun. She basically looks like she's putting up a mecha version of the costume that Utsumi wears in the play that they put up. So again, we have the meta narrative connection there, and it's fun. The show's just the movie's just having fun. It's having fun with the franchise. It's having fun with the shows that they did before and all the characters. Like, hey, maybe don't take this all too seriously. It's just a big old nonsense fest. But also we put a bit of a few story beats in there that is super fun. That are super fun. Like, I mean, we get some nice wrap ups to slightly loose endings from the shows before. I mean, we already learned that Yogomi and what is his now girlfriend's name?
Yume, I believe.
Yume, right? That they went steady. This is also a big story thread that Yuta wants to go steady with Rika, but is afraid to ask her or constantly misses his moments in the most ridiculous ways. And they are the counterpoints, like, well, we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. Why are you not? And he's like, well, I'm trying, guys. And I mean, we get that. I
mean, there was that, which was, nice in the end. And then there was the scene between Yomogi and Yume where he's like, oh, I'd like you to come over and have crab with the family. And it's like, I forget exactly how it says, like, but I'm not part of your family. And Yomogi is, God.
No, I think she says, do you want to come over and have crab? And she's like, isn't that for your family? And he's like, yeah. So, yes, you're part of my family.
Second.
Yeah. And she,
it takes her a second, and then she's like, oh.
Completely red-faced, yes. Which is the first for her in this movie, because she's like, oh, that caught me off guard, because she's kind of like cool and collected usually. So that was really nice. Yeah, true. I love that moment as well. I thought that was really nice. Anyway, that is even the weird after credits stinger we get. I don't know if you watched to the very end there.
What? That after, I was expecting something, but it was like, oh, how's the crab? Oh, it's all right. And that's it.
It's technically exactly the fucking after credits scene from the first Avengers movie, where they all sit around in the shawarma place and eat.
Right.
It's exactly the same thing. And I laughed. It was so good. I was like, yeah, it's all right.
I forgot about that from that movie.
Yeah, it's funny. It's super funny. Didn't see that coming. But yeah, fun scene. I thought the scene where Knight thanks Akane for creating him, and she lovingly ruffling his hair after all the shit she threw his way in the first series was really cute and rewarding. Same goes for Gauma/Rex. And Yogomi finally getting to have a proper goodbye, which they didn't get in Dynazenon because Gauma was just transported back to the past, I guess. Or, I don't know, reborn and then taken to joining the Neon Genesis high school students as their new member and everything. But they finally get to have a proper goodbye and everything. And that was really nice. And Yuta gets to keep his memories this time. And
Gauma had his moment with Princess Hime.
Yeah,
which was really nice.
Yeah, Gauma so deserved this. Yes, that was really nice. And real life Akane finally apparently made some friends, which we will see her joining. We see her joining her in that cleanup that they do on the riverside or whatever, where they clean the trash. And she has some girls joining her, and they seem to be friendly. And that apparently was. I mean, that was one of the big things of her character motivations in the first series, that she didn't have that and wanted that. So it's nice seeing her getting that in real life as well. So that was really nice. And Yuta and Rika finally go steady, of course, by the end there. Really nice, cute scene between the two, them being awkward together. And yeah, good feels all around, man. It's a super weird movie. It's high. I in my opinion, it's a highly recommended spectacle. But definitely watch both shows, SSS, Gridman, and Dynasm before you see this. Otherwise, you will be completely lost. None of this will make sense to you. Absolutely nothing. It barely made any sense to the two people on this podcast who watch both shows and liked them. And then we watch this and we're like, what is going on? What? All right. I think I got what they were doing with this by the end. I wouldn't be surprised if the bad guy of this movie is a commentary on fans and or rights holders being a bit too possessive in regards to the creative direction of this franchise and this movie. Just being a giant, fuck you, we are the storytellers, we do whatever the hell we want message.
So what was the villain's name?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Does it matter?
Well, I just find it interesting that they never give him a name in the movie. I had to look it up after the fact to be like, what was he called? Apparently it's Mad Origin.
Okay, that's fun.
Which, yeah, all right. Like, I didn't have a problem with the meta commentary in this movie, but boy, the way things kind of moved along just... I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like this movie was maybe about 30 minutes longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, that's also true. Like,
I kept looking at the clock like, how much time is left? Jesus Christ, there's another
it is a 2-hour movie.
Beyond where the logical endpoint should have been.
Yeah, it's true.
Which really honestly frustrated me.
I get that. But the thing is, yes, they were spinning a lot of plates. And I feel like for a movie that goes that long, they would have needed a stronger character through line aside from, hey, Yuta and Rika want to become steady. And also they're putting on a play and, which is basically, that is the emotional core of this. And by the end, I guess also, hey, everyone finally got to have their happy end, which they also bring up in the talk about the play, right? Where one of Rika's classmates say like, oh, it's nicer with all these characters. Everyone gets a happy end. That's nice. And it's like, okay, all right.
So, yes, we got it.
We got it. But, that's fine. But you're right. It's like, you could have cut some stuff from that. I guess they felt like, hey, since we're putting already so many characters in there, we want to have some of the moments go a bit longer. And we have already so many battles in there and everything. I guess it's just having two complete rosters of characters from two full-length TV series in one movie, and then having this one weird-ass story where you're also trying to say something about the creation of these two movies and their after effects and everything, and trying to give everyone a proper wrap-up and everything. It's just not possible. So they went with like, hey, we're just gonna throw shit at the wall mode, and we're like, some of this works, some of it doesn't, but it doesn't matter because we're having fun, and eventually this is what matters the most. I can subscribe to that, I guess, in a way, but I also see your point where it's like, hey, this lacked a bit of focus, and also it needed to run shorter with what it was giving us in terms of substance, because it's basically just a battle royale with a lot of fun, cute character bits in between, but not a real story. Like, it's just fighting, it's cute character bits, and then it's the meta commentary. But the actual story and plot are almost non-existent in this movie. It's just like, all the universes are overlapping. Oh, it's Gridman who's doing that. Oh, no, it's the kaiju doing that. Okay, we're beating the kaiju. That's it. There's nothing real there. I mean, there's some twists and turns, I guess, but not really. They don't feel as much because it's not like the show is making it this giant mystery the entire time. It's just like immediately saying, no, something isn't really right here and something is weird with these characters. But it's also so focused on the little character moments and these characters from these two series interacting, just having a fun time, like it's a school play itself, where it's not really about the plot and everything, but it's about the characters having fun with each other, and you as the viewer having fun seeing these characters interact with each other, because that's what you want from a crossover. That works. That works to a certain extent, but also if you're looking for an actual plot, if you're looking for an actual story with arcs of characters and acts, you don't get this here. Like,
say this is not it.
No, absolutely not. It's still a fun time. It's a big old spectacle. It's good action. It's some neat character moments. It's some nice wrap-ups for stories that were started in the first two series, and those work. but those only work because we had the series before this movie. This is because of the stellar character work in SS Gridman. This is because of the not as stellar, but very good, competent character work in SS Dana Xenon. And this movie is basically just, okay, we're showing you a bunch of ridiculous shit, and then we're gonna have an epilogue for all of these characters that we also could have put at the end, technically, of those two series, but we didn't. So everything before that in this movie is just like goofball shit. So if that is fine with you, it was fine for me. Like, it was just like, okay, I guess I know what you're doing with this, and I don't mind that this doesn't really have a story. But I also can see, like you, John, like people getting kind of frustrated with parts of it, and we're like, why is this not really going anywhere, and why is this going so fucking long? So yeah, I didn't mind it.
I also wanted just a little bit more of Akane, because she was an important character in SSSS Gridman, and Rika is harping on she was again a big part of the story. I want her to be in this story, and it's like yes, okay, and then she comes in, she does her thing somewhat briefly, and then she's sort of just gone, and it's like, I mean, yeah, she did what she needed to, but it's like, oh, that. Really? That's okay. That's it, I guess.
Again, I wonder how much of that was some form of outside meddling, like maybe creative differences of people maybe saying like, oh, I didn't get the Akane stuff, and I didn't like her character that much in the original show, and maybe the original intention for the main writer or whoever was like, no, we're going to bring Akane back, and we're going to make this the movie all about her and stuff like that, and have her play an important part. And then someone else who maybe was in a higher position or whatever said, no, we don't want that. We just want fun crossover with all the characters. Please put the focus on that because that's more fun, and that's what the audience wants, ostensibly. And that, meddled with the original vision. And then because they couldn't really go against it, the other creative forces was like, okay, we're going to do that, but we're also commenting in the movie on that pissing us off because we can't have what we actually wanted, which is also what you wanted, John, maybe more the focus on the Akane stuff. So that could very well be the case. There are a lot of points that strongly indicate that that is the case in regards to what they're doing with the play and everything and the meta narrative. So I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't read up on any of this if there were actually production troubles or if there were conflicts of interest in regards to the creative decisions of this movie. No idea. But again, you can make assumptions in regards to what is in this movie and what the movie is saying about certain creative directions being taken or interfered with and everything. So that's all I'm saying. But yeah, if you...
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
Yeah, maybe. If you're interested, if you liked the first two series, I would still heavily recommend you watching this movie for the spectacle and the nice wrap-ups to the character stories alone. Everything else is, I don't even know if we would call it gravy. It's just nonsense. And you don't pay too much attention because you won't. I mean, you can pay attention at the play stuff because it's genuinely interesting in regards to what it's trying to say maybe about the making of this. But also don't try to find an actual plot in this because there really isn't one. But yeah, it was Gridman Universe. Definitely a mixed bag, but I had fun with it. But since this is the season finale for the fall anime season, there's still one more thing we have to do. Best of the season. All right, once more with feeling. Best of the season time, John. We reviewed a couple of things. So where are you leaning? What is the stuff that you want to go for with your pick of best of the season?
Well, we reviewed the tour de force that was. Shika noko 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 kosh tan tan.
Yes.
And
big
that
old nonsense fest. Kind of like Gridman Universe, but completely different. Also made very little sense at point.
Yeah. And then there were a couple other things that I had checked out, like, VTuber Legend was cute. I'm already been VTuber pilled. So, of course, I was there to watch that. And, it was silly. It was fun. It touched on pretty much everything except for the thing that every VTuber fan hates, and that's graduations. Which there have been plenty of, and not plenty of this year and some coming next year that it's tough to talk about, but it's necessary when talking about VTubers. That yes, your Oshi will eventually graduate, but maybe they'll come back. It's okay. I won't tell you where to find them, but you might be able to. So that was that. There's Oshinoko season 2, which I didn't want to talk about yet because there's another season that has been announced and is on the way, and boy, stuff happened in season 2. Like, they found the rotting corpse of the main character's previous life.
Cool.
And that set off a lot of things so I'll talk about that at some point, but that set off a whole new chain of events, and it sort of shifted the focus sort of from Aqua to Ruby, and
Interesting.
yes. But Grendizer was a fun watch. It again very of its time, this and that and the other thing, but it was ultimately enjoyable, I think. I think, though, I want to give it to Nier Automata because it was just it was different from what I was expecting of it. And, I was glad it wasn't a straight adaptation. And I think it's really cool that it can live alongside the game in that you get a more complete experience if you watch and play it. So, and the production was really strong. It had all of the same sauce as the games. It had the cool character designs. It had the incredible music. So, as a big Nier fan myself, it sort of hit just right. And I feel like I can give the big recommendation: watch the show, play the game. If you can do one, and that's fine. But if you do both, then I think you have a lot better of an experience. So I'm willing to put that as my best for this season.
Great, and I can promise you I will do that. It will just take me a bit of time. I'm still making my way through Replicants, so eventually I get to Automata, and after I'm done with that, I will watch the anime.
Don't worry, I still haven't finished Replicant either.
There you go. So yeah, Nier Automata for you. As for me, I like the chaotic energy of Nokotan. I would not say it's best of the season material. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's fun. Was doing a bit too much of that one joke after a while. But it had got still a lot of laughs from that. I loved Mayonaka Punch. I think that would probably have been until now. Until this episode, my pick, because it felt like fresh. It felt like were a bunch of fun characters with strong character writing and a really, really great finale. I definitely recommend that show to anyone who wants to see a fun satire on YouTuber culture. Terminator Zero was really interesting. The best thing coming out of that franchise since forever, and I liked it. I'm looking forward to next season if we get one, and maybe then that will get best of the season. Enjoyed that a lot, but like I said, I really liked My Hero Academia season 7, but I already gave best of the season. Find My Hero Academia season 6. It's not gonna be that, and I know it's a cheat since it's a movie, and not even from fall season really. It's gotta be the first Slam Dunk. Like that just. I know that's just the last minute thing, and it's not even. I didn't even give it a full length review with credits of who made it and everything. Well, a bit of credits here and there, but not as substantial. And I didn't even talk about the original series. because this just was a last minute thing for me, but I can't ignore it because it made me feel the feels and the things. And it was just to the finale to a series I really liked back in the day, so it hit the nostalgia button for me. I think it's one of the best directed movies, anime movies I've seen in, or things I've seen in forever, because it is also 2 hours long, but boy, does it not feel like it is 2 hours. Like, it just moves by so fast, and it's so well structured, and every one of the characters gets enough time to shine for it to feel good. And the incredible decision to move, and bold decision to move the focus from the previous main character to one of the side characters and make him the main character, and that's just working so perfectly in a standalone film. And the presentation, just knocking it out of the park there, Toei and Dandelion. And god damn, what a movie. Like, just blew my hair back and came out of nowhere for me. And I have to go with my heart, even though I feel like, well, if we go only with TV series, I should have given it to Mayopon. And the only real shared full movie review we did was Gridman Universe. But again, also...
Who cares? This is our
exactly.
show.
We do what the fuck we want. It's our show. So I'm going to pick the first Slam Dunk as my best of the season thing for fall season 2024, because that's when I watched it. So that's where it belongs.
There you go.
Yes. So please watch that movie. Please watch the Nier Automata anime and play the games or the game. And yes, we'll see you next season, where we don't have that many reviews, probably only 2 episodes. I think judging from what we watched, probably. I don't think we can bring 3 out of that. Maybe we'll do something else. We don't know yet. There's something we might be interested in doing, but that hasn't manifested yet. So we'll see. The season after that looks even more dire at this point, actually. You will find out in the sneak peek, because woof, slim pickings.
I mean, there's a couple of things.
Yeah.
There's at least one thing for sure in winter.
Yes, one thing for me as well, yeah.
Everything else is kind of eh. And then I've been looking ahead even further than that. There's like one for sure in spring, one that I'm super interested in, and then the other stuff is like, well, maybe I'll look this up.
Yes.
So
let's see. There are a couple of potential things, and there was always a thing in the past was like there was a show I didn't have on my radar at all, and then one of the preview guides or whatever said, hey, this is about that, and it's actually really good. I was like, oh, well, I guess I gotta check it out. I think that was the case with Terminator Zero here, so that wasn't in our sneak peek. So yeah, this might happen again. For now, it just looks like it's gonna be slim picking, but we have at least a couple of things lined up for the next review season, so there's that, and maybe something else. So until then, we here at Anime Brain Freeze wish you happy holidays or a happy new year, depending on when we will release this episode. And yeah, stay frosty, and I hope we get to talk to you again in 2025.
take care, everybody.
And that is a wrap on the 162nd episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in this podcast is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Find us where all the podcasts live, but also check out animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Please leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice if you can. Follow us on the socials or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
So long, folks.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
We want to throw hands.
And unleash our bionic arms!